Four Midwest Guys presents The Night's Watch, a Game of Thrones podcast.
Night gathers, and now my watch begins. I am the sword in the darkness. I am the watcher on the walls. I am the shield that guards the realm of men.
We watch, we listen, and we remember. The past is already written, the ink is dry.
I thought he was the man to lead us through the long night. I was wrong.
Show them what Lannisters are. What we do to our enemies.
How do you know this?
That's what I do. I drink, and I know things.
I believe men of talent have a part to play in the war to come.
I will never settle down.
You could help another climb those steps and take that seat.
I'm not going to stop the wheel. I'm going to break the wheel.
They have no idea what's going to happen.
The real war is between the living and the dead. And make no mistake, the dead are coming.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Four Midwest Guys presents The Night's Watch, a Game of Thrones podcast. Today we'll be reviewing Episode 6, Beyond the Wall, Season 7, Episode 6, Beyond the Wall, and here to help me do that is my brother, Aaron.
Hey, man, how's it going?
Pretty good. How you doing, man?
I'm alright.
Good. So, a very big episode, I would say.
There's a lot happening.
A lot going on beyond the wall.
Yeah.
A lot of White Walkers, a lot of dead people.
I mean, you have zombie bears. That's kind of cool.
Zombie polar bears, yeah.
Yeah,
it was pretty cool. So, all right, so let's get into it because there's a lot to get through. So, right off the bat, there's kind of a cool use of the map at Dragonstone, kind of like they're kind of doing their own version of the map that you see at the beginning of the credits, kind of like a zoom up through. Mm-hmm. I thought it was kind of a neat use of it.
Oh yeah, it's a nice little play on the opening credits, and it's kind of like self-referral, and it's well done.
Yeah, good way to fill about 5-10 seconds. So.
So I'm not really sure if you need it, but it is kind of just a nice use of the environment and kind of showcasing everything.
I think so. And it kind of, shows where they were and where they went, kind of in the same feel.
Yeah.
So first, we open up after the map scene. We go to basically them wandering around in the mountains beyond the wall. Kind of the first thing I took from the scene is Gendry, I guess, reveals that he's never seen snow before. Yeah. So he's kind of new to the whole cold environment, I guess.
Yeah, like they start having a conversation about how you don't freeze your balls off, essentially.
Yeah, which is pretty funny, too. It's like...
Yeah, I mean, this really was a good opportunity where they made use of, like, different characters interacting with each other and kind of playing off each other, and it did it very well.
It did really well. I love Tormund's line. It's like, well, how do you stay so warm? Well, walking's good. Fighting's better. Fucking's best.
Yeah. So you really wouldn't think that's the case since, that generally requires less clothing.
Yeah.
So you would assume that certain things would be getting in the way of each other.
You would think, but it was a good line, and he's like, there isn't a woman in here for miles. Well, you just have to make do with what we got. And Gendry just doesn't know how to take him at all. It's hilarious.
Yeah. I don't feel like a lot of people really know how to take Tormund in this episode.
Not really.
Because then it switches later on to him talking to the Hound about Brienne of Tarth.
Later, yes.
Yeah. And once again, the Hound's just like, how the fuck have you survived so long? I'm good at killing people. Fair enough.
Next part, though, is, again, Tormund, though, he's kind of turns to Jon in this whole scene, and it's like, well, what about the Dragon Queen? And he's like, well, she wants me to bend the knee.
Yeah.
And he makes a good point here. He's like, well, there was the king beyond the wall at one point.
Yeah.
And
he was proud, never bent his knee to anyone or never served anyone.
Yep.
Now look at him. He's dead.
Mance Rider, look what happened to him. And how many of his people died because he refused to bend the knee.
Yeah.
Because of
it actually makes an argument for, it's the better thing to do for his people.
For his people.
Yeah.
So, kind of making a point there. Next part in the scene that was interesting was the Gendry kind of making amends with Thoros and Beric.
Oh, is this the bit where he's like, later, you tried to kill me and sell me off. Well, it's expensive.
War's expensive. We need money.
And then the Hound comes up and he's like, oh, see this guy? He died 6 times. You don't hear him bitching about it.
It's always the Hound that comes around. It's like the Hound's main job and focus of every scene that he's in is to come up to somebody and go, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, just be a general asshole.
Just shut the fuck up. No, really.
Though, admittedly, I do find this bit a little funny. Just like, this dude died 6 times. You don't hear him complaining about it every moment.
He's not bitching about it.
Yeah.
Get over it.
Yeah.
I think he used a word I never heard before, too. What was it? Winging or winning? Widging. That's it.
Something like that.
Yeah, what the hell is that? That was a new one. I had my vocabulary.
Did you use the dictionary to look that one up?
I didn't look it up, but I just assumed that it is a real word. So, yeah, But
all right.
And then, of course, the scene ends with kind of a cool scene between John and Jorah, and he basically offers back up Longclaw back to Jorah because Jorah is a Mormont, and
like the son of the former owner, and
right.
Yeah, it's actually kind of a nice little you were the one that was there, and he gave it to you sort of moment.
It was yours. He said, Jorah goes, I broke my father's heart. I just brought disgrace to my house.
Yeah.
I forfeit any chance of ever having this sword. So.
Yeah, it was a nice little moment, and it kind of, like, Jorah's never been, like, a super asshole character, but it is kind of a nice moment, and you actually see him acting kind of an honorable sort of way.
Yeah, very honorable. It's like he's always making up for that one mistake he made way back when.
Well, I mean, it was probably years worth of mistakes, but
right.
Like, he probably didn't just try to sell slaves the one time and got caught.
Yeah.
Like, he probably did it for a bit.
For quite a while, that's true.
He has seemed like a character that's tried to redeem himself from that.
Yeah, whether it's serving through Dany, even though he technically, I guess, was a spy sent to kill Dany, but still.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of a cool moment for the both of them.
It definitely is.
And you really get to see the interaction between the characters and how they actually are a lot more common than they are different, really. Well, I mean,
sort of. At the same time, they're able to bicker with each other, if nothing else.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun to watch. They kind of become this, from not so band of brothers, as like we called them at the end of the last podcast, to more of a band of brothers by the end of it.
I think we jokingly referred to this the Hateful Eight or
the Hateful Seven or whatever, Sinister Seven.
Yeah.
But yeah. So
it's kind of a bonding thing before they're attacked and
die.
Killed off.
Also, is it just me, or is it the Star Trek guy that wore the red shirt in Game of Thrones? Is anybody that wears a hood? Did you notice that?
Oh, where 2 guys got killed off, and you're like, who the fuck were they anyway?
Right, they were just members of the North or the Wildlings.
They were just random people you had no knowledge of, except for the one dude. The one dude, like cleric, you knew.
Yeah.
But like the other 2, you're like, I don't know this one.
Right, and it was like they were all had hoods up. So that was like their distinguishing moment. It's like that's the Star Trek red shirt, I guess,
that's
for
the
Game of Thrones version. Red shirt.
Didn't the when the modern Star Treks changed that up to where they started killing off the yellow shirts instead of the red shirts?
I think there was in one of the movies they switched it up maybe once, but they did stay true to it the first time around. Yeah. So, but still. So it was just an observation I made. I was like, oh, okay, it's the red shirt. If you wear a hood, you're dead.
Kind of. Which is a shame. Hoods are comfy. And also, it's cold. Why wouldn't you wear a hood?
Exactly, right? All right, so next scene, Winterfell, Arya confronts Sansa. So end of last episode, obviously, Sansa, or Arya gets that scroll from Littlefinger, who plants it for her, sort of. And obviously the scroll is, Sansa saying that she's going to asking Robb to come bend the knee, essentially, to save her father.
It's okay the Lannisters killed Dad. He deserved it, kind of thing.
Right. Or, this is just before even what's killed. They were like, this is one chance to save him. Before Joffrey went crazy. And
Joffrey is kind of an asshole from the first time you meet him.
True.
So
he decides to have him
You just give him more power as the show goes on. Until he dies.
Because they had a kind of a political solution. They were going to send Ned to the wall, and that was kind of their way of getting rid of him and still keeping everybody happy.
Yeah.
Instead, Joffrey cuts off his head and starts the War of the Five Kings,
Pretty much, because he's an asshole.
He is an asshole. Yeah. Exactly.
I was.
But anyway, back to the scene. Arya, she starts with that whole scene about her father watched her shoot the arrow, even though she wasn't supposed to. And
it actually was kind of a nice little background story, because
it
really talks about how Ned really did kind of see her for what she wanted to be, and like really kind of understood his daughter, and like kind of like, even though it wasn't something she was supposed to do, he still kind of appreciated it, and like, was proud of her.
He was very proud of her, and it was, and I think the big line to take away from that was it wasn't wrong, the rules were wrong, and that's how she put it.
Yeah, it's a very weirdly feminist little bit for a show that has kind of been a little mixed on that.
It has. Then she goes, of course, I didn't help kill Dad like you did with the help of the Lannisters, and really kind of catches Sansa off guard with that. Then she rereads the scroll to her, even though she tells her not to. Just kind of...
Yeah, there's a really funny moment when they're talking about, like, really, how did they force you to do this? Like, and even though, like, we know the background story, we see that she was kind of almost felt imprisoned in the situation, but then they get into discussion of, like, well, what would the other Lords of the North feel about that? And she's like, I was a child. Do you feel like Lady Mormont would look behind me on that?
Right. She's like, yeah.
Because Lady Mormont will take no shit.
Well, yeah, because Sansa's like, well, I was a child. I was, they said that they they would help they wouldn't kill father. And she's like, well, you believed him, dumbass. Essentially just throwing it right back in her face the whole time.
Just being super aggressive about it, because kind of pissed off about it. Because it's not like they're sisters, they get along, but they're also kind of rivals and argue with each other a lot. Like certain family members do.
And she even went as far as to say, you betrayed. You betrayed us, and you betrayed our family. You betrayed Dad. You betrayed Ned.
And from her standpoint, it could feel that way, and that's understandable to a certain extent.
Yeah, and then Sansa, of course, tries to go back at her, says, well, you're here because of me. I'm the one that really won the Battle of the Bastards.
Yeah, Jon wouldn't have survived. Jon didn't win the battle. The North didn't win the battle. The veil that I brought won the battle. Yeah. And there is a certain truth to that it is her being political that had won that war for them.
It's very true. Even though Littlefinger is really kind of behind it, but yes, when you really think about it, it is Sansa that wins the battle.
It at least plays a large role.
Yeah, and it also lends to credence, really, to Arya on her point that Sansa resents Jon in a lot of ways and wants to rule.
Yeah, well, because you also have that aspect where Sansa went through so much, she might feel like that is what is owed her in some ways.
Yeah, and she even brings that up. She says, I went through hell, you'll never know what I went through.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, and she's obviously, her big thing, though, with the scroll, though, is she's scared of the Northerners and what they'll think.
Because I think they bring this up in a later conversation, but she talks about how finicky the Northerners are.
Yes.
Like how they hated Jon, but then they voted him king, and then they're questioning it the moment he's gone. And
right, exactly. And
it's one little thing might sway, their approval.
And it's a valid point, really. I mean,
it is. And for someone who's had to grow up in a political scenario as she has, it's understandable she would look at it from that point of view.
Yes.
And know that's something you have to balance at all times.
I just don't think she's aware politically of what's going on. I just don't know if she gives the Northerners enough credit, because the Northerners aren't quite the King's Landing people. They're not quite as...
They're not as working behind your back.
They're more about loyalty
But they're very open about their grievances.
They're open about their grievances.
You look at King's Landing, and it's very working behind the scenes to deal with your grievances.
Yes, where the Northerners are very loyal, and they're all about the loyalty and stuff. And the betrayal is a big thing to them. Yeah. The North remembers. That's always the big line, right? Yeah. So, so she has a valid reason to be scared, really.
Yeah, because if they do view it that way, and as her not trying to protect the North and her family, but is actually working for the Lannisters. And she also made an argument. She was married off to two people that were their enemies.
Yeah, she brings that up in a later scene we'll get to, but yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's a fair point as well.
It's a big point, really. So next scene, we're back beyond the wall again, and you're going to see a lot of this in this episode. We'll talk about this. It's like where we start off beyond the wall, we go somewhere else, and we come back to beyond the wall.
Well, essentially, the beyond the wall is the big area,
the big story.
Yeah, right. It's the main story arc for the episode, and that makes sense. So yeah, you go back to it a lot, and you just kind of cut off from it to kind of give you a little break from it and go right back to it.
Yep. So we open with this scene is the Hound and Tormund. We've already talked about this a little bit, and the Hound brings up the word "dick," and he's like, "Dick? What do you mean, dick? Cock. Oh, I like it. I bet you do."
Yeah, that is kind of the Hound's sense of humor with that.
Yeah,
but then it kind of transfers to like talking about like. Oh, never really tasted it myself, but I like pussy myself.
I like pussy myself, and speaking of pussy, there's a big woman I love. And
we have tall, gigantic children.
Monsters that would rule the world and conquer them. And I love the line he even uses where he goes, "Brienne of Tarth? Oh, you know her. We met her. Well, in that case, and he's like, she'd sooner carve out your liver. Oh, you do know her. Yeah. He's just excited every time.
Yeah, just like the more it comes up, the more he's like, yes, she's amazing.
I love it. Every bit of it.
Well, it's funny because you go back to previous episodes and you like see her just beating the shit out of the one dude, and he's like, "Oh, you're a lucky man."
Exactly, right?
Like, even just in that situation, it's like, I'd love fighting with her.
You're the luckiest man in the world. Yeah, it's just that.
Oh, what was it like? She like tapped him in the balls or something like that.
Yeah, that's what he goes.
And he just like collapses.
Yes, you're the luckiest man in the world. Whispers over to him. Hilarious. Love that whole, and it's all improvised apparently too, which I love even better. That they created all this on. That
he's just like, I really like the storyline.
Yeah, keep going with it.
In his defense, Gwendolyn Christie is actually quite attractive. So
and it's funny because it's just it's good off balance humor to what's really some serious shit going down.
Yeah, it's a more personal, subtle sort of thing.
Yeah. Oh, I like to get to undo that bow and get to know you. Kind of that kind of flair to it. But so next is Beric and John kind of talk to each other. He basically says, "Well, your father sent me to hunt the mountain." And I heard there's, priestess brought you back to life. I've been back to life 6 times, by the way.
Yeah.
He's trying to make small talk with him, essentially.
So we both died at one point or another.
Yeah, we've both been brought back by the same person or same religion, and
yeah, I feel like a lot of these conversations with him actually end up sounding really similar, though.
Yes.
Because you start having those conversations of, I don't know why I was brought back.
Yeah.
It's like, it's cool and all, and like, I'm glad it's in a different scenario, but like, a lot of his conversations ends up being really, really similar.
Yeah, but they're, they're philosophical, in this case. Yeah, because he's like, do you know why are we fighting for? What are you fighting for, Beric? He's like, I fight for life. Death is the enemy.
Yeah.
He's like, well, don't you die in the end? Well, the enemy wins in the end, but you have to keep fighting him.
Yeah.
And you still need to fight it. And that's when John makes the, we're the defenders of the realm, the guardians against the he does the whole speech from the Night's Watch. I can't remember right now.
Watcher on the wall.
I'm the shield that guards the realm of men. That's it. So they make that connection there too, which is
actually a good line.
It was.
It was well placed.
Yeah. And then as soon as they're done with that conversation, the Hound finally sees his Arrowhead Mountain that he saw in his vision a few in episode 2.
So yeah, like they're near whatever they're looking for, I guess.
Yeah, even the Hound says we're close.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, this is it. This is what I saw. Next scene is Dany and Tyrion at Dragonstone.
I thought this was actually a really fun scene.
It was a good scene, and it's
just watching the dynamic between like Tyrion and Dany at some point. It becomes really interesting because of how they relate to each other.
Yeah, and it's really Tyrion trying to do what Varys told him, right? It's like you got
trying to persuade her,
like
trying to like be a good, I don't know, not like role model, but like
a good advisor.
A good advisor.
He's like, you've got to, Varys is like, you got to make her listen better, you know, and advise her better and persuade her better.
But she's also the one that kind of initiates the conversation because he's just kind of sitting there when the scene starts.
Well, it's funny because she's resenting the fact that Jon and Jorah went on this. She's like, I like you because you're not a hero.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I'm kind of a hero. Now wait a minute.
It's like, I fought at the
Battle of Blackwater.
What
are you talking about?
I'm not saying you're not brave, but you're not stupid brave.
And she goes on about Drago and Dario and Jorah and Jon. They all do stupid things, trying to one-up each other to be better heroes, blah, blah, blah.
I think there's also that joke about Jon being kind of short for a hero.
Well, it's like, And basically Tyrion says, he kind of looks at you longingly. He likes you, you know that, in his own way. And she's like, he's too little for me. That's not what I meant.
Just a little, another reference to Tyrion being small.
Small.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or just, things being small. Anyway. And then the conversation turns, she kind of changes the conversation at that point. She goes, well, I'm going to be meeting your sister soon. What do you think about that?
She's a raging cunt, but she will try to kill you.
She'll try to kill you, but she'll torture you first, so you know. And I wouldn't underestimate her. In fact, I think we should go with the Thraki, the Unsullied, and 3 dragons. And if she touches you, we'll burn King's Landing down.
Yeah.
Just FYI.
Yeah.
So do you think she's laying a trap?
Oh, definitely is, right?
Right.
Definitely.
And she's wondering what trap we set for her. And then she's like, well, are we laying a trap?
Yeah.
And Tyrion's just like, well, we should, if you want to build a better world and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, he more or less makes let's take the high road argument.
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't think he's wrong, because more or less you look at his strategy since Daenerys landed, it is kind of, we have to take the higher road. We have to build a better world than what we entered, essentially.
You have to walk the walk as well as talk the talk.
Yeah.
Is basically.
You can't just be a tyrant in wartime and then expect people to treat you like a peaceful benefactor in peace. Yeah.
Yeah. And I agree. It's been his strategy's not only been trying to be an effective military strategy, but
it's planning for actually ruling.
Ruling, yes.
And I actually think that makes sense, because you look at Tyrion, you could almost make an argument he does ruling better than he does wartime. Not that he's been particularly bad in wartime scenarios, but you look at him, in a ruling scenario when he was like hand of the king in King's Landing, or like when he actually was kind of helping the one city when Dany was away.
Right.
He actually does handle that situation very well. And he understands that the actions you make now are going to impact that down the road.
It's going to reflect as how people view you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I don't think he's necessarily wrong. I just think he's thinking too far ahead right now. I think there's
an argument for it.
Like
he's limiting his current actions by what.
Yes.
By the future.
By the future. He's looking too far term, because he really pushes this issue with Dany when it comes to, number one, he says, I told my brother I would keep you in check. And she's like, what do you mean by keep me in check? And really kind of starts off kind of poorly with her.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, you have kind of lost your temper.
Very few people take kindly to being told they're going to be kept in check.
Yeah, Cersei might provoke you, FYI,
and she's like, all right, I kind of see it. Don't mention it again, but I kind of see it.
And then he kind of reprimands her about burning the Tullys again, and it's like, it's a done deal. She's already done it. Why bring it back up?
I actually think that's actually a good point on his part, though. Like, giving an instance of her losing her anger, of saying, yeah, you had to kill the father, that's fine, but you could have spared the son, you could have sent him the wall, you could have left him in chains for a couple of days to change their mind.
Right.
You acted brashly in that scenario where we could have had greater gains down the road had we acted more calmly.
Indeed. And then he even goes a step further with that, and he goes, you need to see the things the way your enemies do so you can anticipate their actions. You got to think like they do.
Which isn't a bad point.
Yeah. And then he tries to soften the tone a little bit, and he goes, I believe in you and the world you want to build, but the world you want to build will take your lifetime and probably then some.
Yeah.
And then
he also makes that good line, like, you want to break the wheel, but you want to make sure it stays broken.
Right.
Yeah.
And then this is probably where he takes a step too far, because he starts talking about, well, who's your successor going to be? Because you can't have children. There are other ways to do it. Even the Ironborn have a strange way of doing it.
Yeah. But I actually don't. You look at Tyrion, he's clearly playing a long game.
He is.
Where a lot of people aren't. And I think that is a benefit, but I can see your point where that's not necessarily something you need to talk about in the moment.
Right at that moment.
At the same time, though, is that kind of a red flag for Daenerys? When you're talking about how do you have someone succeed you when we're entering into like a giant warlike period?
Right, exactly. It's he's sowing the seeds of doubt in her own mind against himself in this point.
I don't know if it's meant to sow seeds of doubt. He really isn't talking about what do you do if we lose this war. He's talking about like, well, after we win, we need to talk about how we actually continue to rule, because this is going to be a very long process.
And it's a fair point. I just think he brought it up too soon. And I think in this, and you've already pushed...
Well, I think even she kind of feels that way.
Yeah.
She mentions, like, no, we'll talk about that after I wear the crown.
And I think he's pushed her too far, and already, or he's kind of pushed her to her limit to begin with, and then adding that just really pushes her even further. And like I said, it creates this whole seeds of doubt in her where I think she's starting to lose a little faith in him, because his military plans haven't gone real well to start with.
Not super well.
She still likes him and still trusts him, but this conversation does not help him at all.
I think it does up until that point.
Yeah.
I actually think even when she's talking about her like losing her cool, she actually sees what he's saying. Like, she understands, like the concept, and she, is giving some credibility to it.
But, I mean, she has to shut him down, and she has to say it twice. She says, when I wear the crown, we'll talk about my secession. End of story.
Yeah.
The fact that she has to do that, I think he
Well, I think that's...
I think he's
really
an
emotional subject.
It is. It's because it,
Because that's fair, really. I mean, talking about, like, well, you don't even have, like, the crown yet, and you're talking about, like, well, what do you want to do when you die? That way, we make sure we still have a path to go forward.
Yeah.
But it makes sense to plan for that in the long term. And it really does. It's just not only are you going to have a clear successor, you don't prevent more fighting, you don't just restart a war of 5, clans or whatever. Like, you don't have every, regent more or less taking claim.
You don't. It's just, and like I said, it's a valid point. I just think in that moment, in that time...
Oh, yeah, poor timing.
Yeah, he's stuck. He's stuck in fast forward mode too much. I think he needs to live in the now just a little bit more.
Well, yeah, but it's interesting
balance.
because, like, after the one battle, with the caravan, you really, with the exception of Euron Greyjoy's naval fleet, they've already taken a pretty big hit to, like, Cersei and the Lannisters' army.
Oh yeah,
you take down the navy, and it really is kind of just they're surrounded. And even the Lannisters kind of, even with the Navy, feel like they're currently surrounded.
Yeah. In fact, I'm kind of surprised they didn't turn to the Navy next after she took them down at the Battle of the Loot Train.
Yeah, honestly, the dragons would be fucking perfect for taking that down, wouldn't they?
3 dragons, you scorch that fleet.
Yeah.
You find them and you scorch them.
I mean, worst case scenario, if they're survivors, it's going to take them a long fucking time to rebuild those boats.
Yeah, that's a pretty big fleet. So if you take that out of the equation...
And I mean, like, they can't have that many fucking trees left on the islands.
Well, even if they got the trees from the mainland, like you said, it would take too long to rebuild. It would take months and months and months at least, if not years.
And that's just depending on, like, how many people you have survived.
Right, and, who's to say she wouldn't attack the shipyards,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I was kind of surprised they didn't do that.
Actually, that's been a battle I was expecting to happen this season, and we haven't seen it yet.
No, and it's. I'm sure it's.
Well, I mean, especially because like you actually have Grey Worm stranded, like in Castle Rock.
The Unsullied are at Casterly Rock right now.
Yeah. So you would assume, like, actually opening up like transportation for them that they don't have to walk across the fucking mainland makes a lot of sense.
Well, you would think, and I guess it's just for story plot purposes, but yeah, I really thought in this episode or in some very, or at least by the season finale that she burns the fleet down. But but obviously they've changed direction rather quickly and have turned
to the White
Walkers, much quicker than I thought.
Yeah, honestly, I was expecting that to really pick up next season.
Yeah, I really thought that this season was all about, okay, it's going to be the war with the Lannisters, and you're going to keep seeing them creep closer and closer, and then next season it's going to be whoever's left versus the White Walkers.
Yeah.
But obviously, no, it's much more complicated than that now. It's everybody not trusting everybody necessarily to fight the White Walkers, and which makes a better story.
Yeah.
So I'm all for it. All right, so next scene, we're back beyond the wall again, and this is where they encounter the White Walker polar bear.
Yeah, which is a pretty badass polar bear.
Yeah, so in the middle of a snowstorm, they see a polar bear, and Gendry goes, "Do polar bears have blue eyes?"
Is that actually what he says?
Yeah, he's like,
I don't remember that.
Do they have blue eyes? And he's like, I don't think so. And then you see it charge at him.
Well, I thought they like heard a noise and like they're looking around first before they actually see the bear, right?
Yeah, they see the bear in the distance. And as soon as Gendry says, does it have blue eyes, it starts charging at them. And I think there's actually two of them because another one comes out of the nowhere. Either the damn thing is really, really fast or there was a second bear because it comes out of... I
just assumed they cut from a different angle.
Maybe. To me, it just seemed like there was a second bear because even though we only see one attack, but it comes out of blindsides them essentially.
Yeah.
Makes short work of 3 of our hooded lackeys.
Yeah.
Hound still apparently fears fire though because
but it is kind of cool seeing like the fire swords like start up.
Yeah,
and you start seeing them attack with it.
You see Thoros and Beric light their swords up, and which is really cool. And
it's actually really cool because you don't really see them in fights too often.
Yeah, and it catches the bear on fire, obviously.
Yeah. But it's then funny because then you just have this bear on fire, still just like, fuck it, I'm going to kill you all.
Well, it's a dead bear anyway, so, but...
we're not really sure how well it feels, but it's had enough fur to catch on fire.
Fire, right. Yeah. And seeing that fire, it comes up against the Hound. The Hound has its chance to attack. He has its chance. He doesn't. He just kind of stares at it, like mesmerized.
Just zones out.
Yeah, like his fear of that fire is still there, even after everything he's been through and seen.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it's a childhood trauma. I mean, it might kick out.
And really, though, for his fear, though, Thoros ends up paying the price. I mean, he ends up getting his chest and stomach kind of bit open. Yeah, essentially.
Yeah, he's more or less mauled.
Yeah,
but I mean, he's been a fun drunk up to this point.
Yes,
and even now, he's still like, yeah, give me a drink.
And it was pretty cool. He took a big drink and he's like, okay, do it. And they take the fire sword and temporarily patch him up by. Yeah, cauterizing his wounds.
Yeah, well, what is it like? There's an old war movie. I think it might be Platoon, like where they take like gunpowder from a cartridges and like put it on a wound and like start it on fire.
Yeah, they do it in I think it's Rambo 3 too.
Do they do it?
Yeah, he gets like shot with an arrow or something, and
they use it as like patch ups and stuff.
Yeah, he ends up cauterizing.
But I mean, like it's a nice extra use for the sword. It's like, oh, cauterizing agent. Yeah, that's kind of nifty.
It's a first aid. What do you know? So yeah, I mean, it was a cool scene.
Yeah, it definitely was. Like, it was definitely nice seeing like it's almost like a mini boss.
In a way, yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's just this monster you're not expecting to see, and it's pretty fucking cool.
And yeah, I think it's the first time we see an animal that's a white walking animal. Really,
I think we might have seen them a few times before, just never like in battle.
I don't think I don't remember
because
that.
They have the White Walkers, like the Night King, have like the horses and such.
Okay, yeah, the horses. That's true. But outside of the horses, I think this is the first time we've ever seen any kind of animal that's a White Walker.
I don't know. I feel like we've seen a few others. I just don't remember them being like serious threats.
I don't remember seeing like wolves or anything that were White Walkers.
No, we haven't seen wolves.
Yeah. So. But, because I think that would be the only big thing you could have.
I thought we saw, like, some birds or something, though.
White Walker birds?
Yeah, I thought so.
I don't remember that. Mm. But, anyway. So, yeah, it was a nice, cool scene, like a mini-boss, like you said. Yeah. Like their first real test of fighting together.
I mean, this is the first time you really see Gendry use his hammer and, like, kind of actually attack the bear and such.
And honestly, they're pretty much outclassed by the damn bear. I mean,
the bear's kicking ass.
Yeah, I mean, if they didn't have the flaming swords, I'm not sure they would have won.
No, you have 5 of those fucking bears, man. They're going to take down an army.
Yeah, it's just like whoa. So yeah,
in his defense, it's a pretty large fucking bear.
It is. It's a huge mammoth.
It's not going to die like a normal bear. It's already a fucking zombie bear.
It's a zombie bear just out to kill anything, obviously. Because a normal polar bear probably would have kept walking in the distance. This one sees them and. Boom.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. All right, so next we're back at Winterfell, and it's Sansa and Littlefinger plot against ARYA. Yeah, I really want Littlefinger to die. I'm so sick of that guy.
I mean, he's been around since season 1.
I know, and I knew this was coming. And
he's been very tactful about how he like uses his energy, though. There's a reason like he's lasted this long.
Here's what I would do. I wouldn't kill him, but I would. You know what I would do to him? I would cut off his fucking hands, and I would cut off his tongue.
Take away his little finger.
No.
I'd
leave him.
Littlefinger doesn't even get to keep his little finger.
No, I'd leave him no way to communicate. Make him. He can't write. He can't do nothing.
So what if he like just communicates through blinking, like Morse code?
Okay, take out his eyes. I don't know, but the guy. His biggest weapon is his tongue, and boy, does he use it here.
Yeah.
I Their loyalty, this is where you're talking about the loyalty. We get back into the loyalty. They're going to be tested.
We're talking about like the Northerners and how lucky they are.
If they read that scroll, it's going to be tested. They're loyal to John. They made him their king. And then, here's our line. I married 2 enemies of the house.
Yeah.
You know. And of course, the devil plays dumb here.
Well, it's one of those things like, you want to make it seem like it's her idea.
Right.
And if you're manipulating people, you want to make it seem like it's their idea. Yeah. It's like, you don't want to boss orders. Like, that's why he's good at manipulating people, is because he's just leading them to inclusion in a way that comes across as natural for the conversation.
Right. And he's like, don't, you know, he's just like, do you know where she got that scroll? I don't know where she got it.
Yeah.
No. I'm sure she would never do anything to harm you. No, of course not. Why would she?
She is your sister.
She is your sister, after all.
And she's loyal to her family.
Yeah, you know.
Which actually is kind of true. Arya is most likely loyal to her family, and like even with her disagreements with Sansa, probably won't do anything.
And then his best line is, well, you know, maybe we could ask Brienne of Tarth for help, because, you know, she's sworn to protect both of you, so if you two were ever to get into a conflict, hint, hint, she'd be obligated to stop it and intervene. So, you know, and obviously placing the thought in Sansa's mind, well, yeah, you're right, I need to get rid of her.
Yeah.
In case I need to take Arya out.
It's letting, jump to that conclusion anyway.
On her own, but he's totally setting it up. Little bastard. I
don't know. I actually think Littlefinger is interesting for being that manipulative a character.
See, I don't view him that way anymore. He's becoming, now that, there's been the 3, right? So you got Joffrey, who I still never really got my bloodlust for. I got my bloodlust satisfied with Ramsay. Yeah. And now there's Littlefinger, and he's the new cocksucker of this season. Yeah. He's taking the place of Ramsay. And
really?
It's just like
not the Night King?
Not really, no. He's just a bad dude,
Like, you just view him as like a force of nature just coming to destroy the world.
Yeah, he's just an evil dude. This guy's a twisted little... He's a rat. He looks like a rat. He is a rat.
Really?
Yeah.
He kind of reminds me of the Gary Oldman's villain in Fifth Element.
Yes, a little bit, but to me, when he opens his mouth, he's got this buck teeth kind of... He looks like a rat. I don't even notice the buck teeth. I do. That was the first thing
honestly, I almost feel like you're imagining that because how much you dislike.
Maybe that's what I'm... Yes, maybe I'm projecting. But that's what he is.
Either that or I just really need to pay more attention.
He is totally the rat. I mean, he's... Now, granted, don't get me wrong, he's had some shit happen to him. He stood up for his woman he loved, and Ned cut him through. Yeah. But...
I mean, he survived.
And he survived it, but...
I mean, that's still pretty impressive.
But still, I hate him. So, yep, he must die. That is this season's must die, even though I don't think it's going to happen.
He might be the one that survives.
Oh, fuck no. If that happens, I will quit Game of Thrones and any spin-off.
Well, dude, that might be that might be where they end it.
No.
Daenerys dies... Daenerys and Jon die fighting the White Walkers and leaving Littlefinger to, rule the realm.
Nope, if that happens, I will never watch another Game of Thrones episode.
Like, you won't watch reruns?
Nope, won't watch reruns, won't watch any spin-offs.
Like,
fuck no.
Battle of Blackwater's on, you're just like, no, fuck this shit.
Done. Blackwater's on, done. Battle of the Bastards on. Nope. I haven't come this far in this journey to watch that fucker sit on the Iron Throne. That's all I'm saying.
Man, like... If we're making the argument that Game of Thrones is drawing parallels from historical events, sometimes assholes are the ones that sit on the throne.
I can't accept that. I just can't.
I mean, it happens.
I know it happens, but if it happens, forget it. I'm done. We will never do another Game of Thrones podcast ever.
Okay.
Well, anyway, I'm just saying.
If that's where it ends, that's where it ends.
I know.
I mean, we wouldn't be doing one ever.
And we'll talk about it. But that'll
really,
be
you're just not going to cancel it, like season finale. Yeah. Like the whole series finale.
We'll talk about it.
Littlefinger ends up in the Iron Throne, and you're just going to be like, you'll actually talk about it. You're not just going to cancel it, be like, no, fuck this shit, never again.
No, what I'll do, I'll be like, yep. And in the end, he sits on the throne, mic drop, I'm fucking done, goodbye. And that'll be it. That'll be the end of it. That's what I'm saying.
We'll see how next season goes.
Mic drop. Boom, gone.
We got one more season, man. Essentially we're down to, 8 episodes?
8 episodes, yep.
Yeah. Because one more this season and then 7 more next.
Yes.
So we'll find out in 8 episodes.
I'm starting my new campaign today. Kill Littlefinger. Littlefinger must die. He must die. All right.
Kill the Pinky.
Back beyond the White Wall. To catch a White Walker. So they open up with Thoros. He's not looking very good.
Yeah, you pretty much have Jorah just kind of hanging out behind him and just kind of looking at him like, please don't die yet. We don't want to kill you two.
He's like, he's not looking real healthy. He's having a hard time keeping up. He's kind of limping, obviously. And I would, too, after being mauled by a bear and cauterized. The wound.
He's still pretty humorous about the whole thing.
Yeah, he's drinking pretty heavily, but I would, too. And Jorah's kind of a fan.
I mean, he always kind of drinks a little heavily.
Well, yeah.
And I mean, this is talking about a show where everyone drinks kind of heavily.
That's true. Jorah's kind of a fanboy here, though, for a second. He's like, there's one thing I've always wanted to know. How did you charge the breach on Pike? And I guess it's a kind of a thing of a disappointment for Jorah when you meet your hero.
Yeah.
And he's just like...
There's that joke, never meet your heroes.
Yeah. And he's like...
So his argument for how he does it is super fucking funny.
Yeah, he's like, to be honest, I was too drunk to even remember doing it.
Yeah. They told me about it the next day.
Yeah. Jorah's like, the Ironborn thought you were some kind of god flaming your sword around and going nuts and being crazy.
Thought you were the bravest warrior in all the land. Nope, just the drunkest.
Just the drunkest. Good dialogue,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It really makes me like the character way more.
Oh, yeah.
Which is kind of sad because he dies.
Yeah, it's kind of their build-up to make you care.
Like, don't wrong. Like, he's been kind of amusing before this, but really in this episode, you're like, he's a lovable drunk.
He is. And it makes you sad. And that's why they do it, I guess.
Mm. No point killing people off if you're not going to have, emotional reactions about it.
Right. So next thing, they kind of come up on I guess you would call it a patrol of White Walkers led by, I'm going to call him a General Walker or maybe a Leader Walker.
I don't know. I guess it's just like a White Walker and the other ones are just the undead.
Maybe. Maybe that's a better way of saying it, yeah. He's one of the long-haired White Walkers.
Yeah. Like he's an actual,
leader.
Brings people back from the dead White Walker.
He has that power.
Yeah.
So.
But, I was actually just surprised they had, a small group of them. Because at this point, you only see them in large masses. And there doesn't really seem to be a need to have patrols when you're that large and unstoppable killing army.
I kind of had the same thought, and I just let it go.
It almost comes across like a weird plot point.
Yeah, I choked it up to plot point because how else are you going to capture one from a mass of millions or
thousands? It makes sense to have that for a normal army.
Mm-hmm.
For an army that's undead and borderline unkillable and outnumbers every other fucking army 10-1,
yeah,
I don't think it's necessary. I think you can just charge in like a fucking wave.
I had the same thing, and the only thing I thought that maybe you could explain it by, maybe, and it's a stretch, is that they're just happen to be maybe just they lead the way, or they're the scouts, for whatever reason that they put.
I understand army. They're being scouts in the regular army.
I know. It doesn't make sense for, like you said, for an undead army to have that. But
and it's not just that, but they're also going through these small crevices, and you have the party that we're following kind of on a high ground above them, and you're just there's a lot of this that seems super convenient for this episode.
Yeah, they're kind of naive. Yeah. I don't know.
And then all of a sudden, they go into fight and they're attacking, and John kills the one White Walker, and all the other ones disappear.
And that's interesting.
Oh, no, it's super interesting, but it's also, once again, if we're going to super convenient, it's kind of convenient of a plot point.
It's interesting because when he fights just the undead, they don't shatter.
Yeah.
It's only these leaders, when he kills them with the sword, when he touches them with the sword or goes to cut their heads off or whatever, that's when they shatter.
Yeah, and everyone takes note of that.
Right, and because when he falls, all but one of the White Walkers disappears. It's shattered.
Why does that one survive, by the way?
I guess, eventually and we'll talk about it later, they come to the determination is he must have been the one that turned the other ones except for the one.
Yeah. That one came from a different White Walker.
Different White Walker
leader. And he just ended up in that group.
General, right. Yeah. So
does that mean there could have been hundreds of others of undead that just dropped at the same time?
Possibly, yeah.
We just didn't see it.
Yeah. And they're like, shit, what happened?
But oh look, Gary died. Or Greg. Nope, that was Greg's. Greg died.
That was Greg's Legion. I wonder what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guess that's that's kind of convenient in its own way, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you know, when one of your main guys dies, could you just lose random troops?
Well, and it's a good weakness to know. I mean, if anything, that's other than getting the White Walker, that's a big piece of information they come back with, really.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the larger plot point, that is the more, most helpful bit of information in the entire episode.
Yeah. So
don't get me wrong, later on we learn the Night King's amazingly fucking strong, or has magical fucking lances. One of the two.
Yeah, we'll get to
which is good to know.
Hold that thought. We'll get to it.
This is probably the information that's probably going to be more important in the long run.
But the other thing we find out, as they're trying to tie up the one White Walker left, is he lets out like a banshee scream, which apparently is a...
Yeah, it's like a how to alert the other ones.
Well, yeah, and all of a sudden the rest of the horde just happens to start marching towards them.
Yeah, and they just come in like a motherfucking wave.
Yeah, and
it's pretty fucking badass.
And props to John here. He turns to Gentry and goes, "You're the fastest. You get your ass back to Eastwatch and send a Raven to get Daenerys to help our ass."
Yeah, he's like, "There's no fucking way we deal with an entire legion of these. We could catch one.
Yeah,
we can't fucking destroy all of them."
Yeah, but and he has to re-enter it because Gendry's like, "No, I want to stay." Like, "No, you're the fastest. You fucking go." So good leadership by John.
And then the Hound's like, "Hey, we'll be faster without the hammer."
Actually, it was Tormund, but
is it Tormund?
Yeah, it's Tormund. He goes, "Yeah, you'll be faster without this." He just grabs it and he's like, "Okay, fine."
It's like, "This is my favorite hammer. Don't lose it."
Damn you. But anyway, so the rest of the group, so Gentry takes off one direction, they go another.
Yeah, split up,
which just makes sense.
Yeah.
And obviously they're running, but it doesn't take long for the massive horde to catch up on them.
Doesn't.
You can literally see them coming around the sides as they're running. And they come across this lake and they step on it and the ice starts to break.
Yeah.
A little bit.
And you can see them slowing down as they're being cautious about it and that whole thing.
Yeah.
And I'm honestly amazed it didn't break sooner. Or it seems like it was a weird timing on the ice breaking effect because it takes it a while to break, but then it's unfrozen for hours.
To me, it was the only way you can make them survive that situation because
so that's my point. Is it's another one of those bits it's a little convenient.
Well, you kind of have to put it there and for the story because
not just that, but
and make it believable.
What I don't understand is why couldn't the undead just swim up
through the ice?
Because that seems like they're undead. They're not. They don't have an issue with ice. I doubt they have issues with water.
And later, you do see them trying to pull them under the water. So you got a point.
I don't see why they couldn't just swim. They're more or less all bones. I'm sure they could float.
I mean, know.
Maybe not their weapons, but
to make it somewhat believable. So they're able to cross the ice even though it's breaking as they're running.
Oh. We see the Ice King's lance later in the episode. He's right there. They're looking at him. He could have just started tossing
the only thing I can think of there is he doesn't want to waste his time. He knows he can wait him out.
I don't know. Unless there's a limit to those magical fucking lances he has.
Maybe. That could be too. We're not sure. But anyway, so they make it across the ice, but you put thousands of dead on it. They start falling through the ice.
Yeah.
And luckily, they find an island in the middle of this on a rock.
Yeah, it's like a giant rock
island. And they kind of just... So they're safe for now.
Yeah, I think they're pretty much sitting there for hours.
Oh, a whole night.
Yeah.
Yeah, a whole night, literally, we find out later. So, so after running all night, Gendry finally makes it back to the wall.
Yeah, collapses 5 feet from it. They see him, so it's cool.
Davos picks him up. He's like, "Send a Raven."
Yeah.
Maester now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's one of those nice little plot point moments that we are getting used to from the last couple episodes.
Yep. And we're staying beyond the wall, and it's now morning, and you can see where they're on the island. And they're completely surrounded, and I do mean completely surrounded by the undead on all sides.
It's actually pretty cool looking from a long shot sort of thing, or from the wide view.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we also find out they are very much linked because the Hound kicks the captured one, pissed off, and you hear the rest of them
get pissed off
when he does it. So they definitely have a connection with each other.
You think he's only connected to people in his own legion, or to all of them?
I think he's there's probably a greater connection there because it's not just one section.
Yeah,
it sounds
which is interesting because essentially then they're an undead hive.
Yes, very
which
much
is kind of a weird sort of thing.
Yeah, so I would think that the Night King himself has ultimate control.
Yeah.
And then you have these legions underneath him with his leaders.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because when they're talking about how they can actually get out of it, they're talking about, like, we don't have to beat all of them. We just have to beat that fucker.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Barrick points that out.
Which is a fair point.
Yep.
At the same time, you still have to go through all those other fuckers to get to them.
And then, of course, also in this scene, we Thoros passes away in his sleep.
Yeah.
So we get that nice little build up, and there's the death. Unfortunate. He was an interesting character, maybe not fully fleshed out.
Yeah, no, like he was more of a side character for the most part.
For the most part, but they did make him.
Yeah, he was interesting and kind of funny
at the end. So obviously, John says we need to burn the body, and
because you don't want just a random White Walker popping up right there.
So he's like, "Well, where are we gonna get fire?" And of course, Barrick's like,
"Yeah,
here you go."
Well, then he also has like that little sort of prayer thing for it as well.
Sure, yeah, he says his words and whatnot, and a little burial, Viking funeral kind of sort of thing, on the rock. And then this is where they make that distinction. And they're like, well, why did most of them crumble when you killed the leader? And that's when John's like, well, maybe he's the one that turned them, and therefore.
Yeah. Which is a weird, interesting, like, play back to, like, old, like vampire mythology sort of thing, isn't it?
Yeah, very much
where
so.
you kill, like, the main vampire, or like, you transform the ones he turned back, or something.
Or werewolves, same thing.
Yeah.
Whoever is your creator, returns you is,
Yeah. Like, it somehow just, like, it's like you destroy the curse at the base, and, like, everyone infected, like, is redeemed.
He's redeemed from it, yeah. Yeah, at least that's how that... In some of the incantations.
Yeah, it's not something that's really in the modern versions as much.
Not as much, no. I think the last time we saw it was, like, American Werewolf in Paris, I think. Was the last time I saw it. And more modern stuff.
I think there was, like, a 2000 remake of the Werewolf that had that as well.
Did it? Okay.
Yeah. Or the Wolfman or whatever.
Okay. So, there you go. And then, obviously, John also says Danny's our only chance, Which
is fair. I mean, there's a fucking lot of dead people. They're surrounded.
And this is where Barrick also, we just pointed out earlier, he's like, well, if we kill him, then, we don't have to worry about the rest.
Yeah. Well, because, I mean, that might be true. You might be able to kill, like, the Night King, and it might kill the other White Walkers.
Yeah, they
like, the White Walkers might actually just be the one the Night King brought back.
Yeah.
And then they just brought back the undead.
Yeah, so if you cut off the head, then the rest of the body dies, right? So that's kind of his thing. And then Barrick kind of, he's keeping his religious beliefs about him. He's like, I think it's my destiny to kill that guy.
Yeah.
Maybe it's our destiny, John, to kill that guy. Maybe that's why we're brought back.
Yeah.
And
well, I feel like he's kind of jumping the gun.
Yeah, a little bit. Honest. He is, but he's trying to get John pumped up to do it.
It's like, we're going to be fighting here soon. Let's go kill some
motherfuckers. If we're going out, I'm going after that motherfucker first, So, I don't know. All right, next scene is Invitation to King's Landing. Not a very big scene. This is just basically Sansa getting rid of Brienne.
But it's an interesting scene because I don't remember Sansa having an invitation to King's Landing.
She gets the scroll. She gets a raven.
Oh, does she?
Yeah.
Like, did they actually show that earlier?
Yeah. Okay. She gets the raven, and she's like, "What?" Brienne's like, "What is it?" It's an invitation to King's Landing. And then the next scene is her sending Brienne.
Yeah.
You're going to go in my place, Brienne. You're going to represent me. I'm not a child anymore. I'm a lady of Winterfell.
Also, it's like, I'm not going back until, Lannister's in charge. Yeah. And that's fair. Mm-hmm. But it clearly is also a very convenient plot point to get Brienne out.
And to Brienne's point, she makes the counterpoint. She's like, I'm not leaving you here with Littlefinger.
Yeah.
She knows. She's like,
I don't trust that fucker.
Not even a little bit. But
at least let me leave Podrick.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Let me leave somebody.
Yeah.
She's like, she eventually she's like, no, I'm a lady of Winterfell. I'm home. And she's like, she just shuts her down. You better leave now.
Yeah, he's actually kind of an asshole about it, to be honest.
She's a real bitch, yeah.
For someone who's like, Brienne really goes out of her way to try to work in her best interest.
Yeah.
And really he's just like, no, this is what you're fucking doing.
Yeah, exactly.
He even goes out to the, point out, you've mentioned Jaime was always, kind to you, or, at least pleasant with you, or whatever.
Right, exactly.
It's like, it's really not even something you had to bring up, man.
She's just trying to butter her up to go, know? And eventually she just has to shut her down, and she does, but...
Yeah, she ends with the line, it's a long journey, you better leave soon, sort of thing.
So once again, Littlefinger gets his fucking way, little bastard. Prick. So... All right, let's go on to a better scene. Dany to the rescue. I like this little back and forth between Tyrion and her. Obviously, you see Dany, number one, where did she get the winter outfit? All of a sudden. It was cool looking.
I mean, she is a queen in her own right. She probably has a wardrobe.
Okay, I'll give you that. But yeah, there's a nice little, Tyrion's like, you can't go, it's too dangerous. You know, the risk, you can't go to the most dangerous place on earth.
Yeah.
He's trying to make his case.
So few people have actually come back from beyond the wall.
Yeah. And she's like, well, what would you have me do? She's like, nothing.
Yeah. And he actually makes the argument like nothing can sometimes be the hardest thing to do.
Yeah.
And that's fair.
Yeah, and he's making fair points. He goes, if you die, we are lost. Don't you understand?
You are the center of this entire operation. Yeah.
The cause is lost. If you die...
And this goes back to his later point of like, we don't have a successor.
Yep.
If you die, this entire insurrection dies.
And that just pisses her off because, when you think about it, she has to go. I mean, Jorah has saved her life, countless times. So you got Jorah up there. She obviously has a thing for Jon. She's gonna go. There's just no stopping her at this point.
Well, at this point, she also has, the speech from Lady Tyrell, "You're a dragon, be a dragon," sort of thing.
Right, and she's kind of right in her own way.
Yeah, in some ways.
But and then the big line that she hits back at him with is, I listened to you once to do nothing. I'm not listening to you this time.
Yeah.
To me, that's like, wow. Yeah, she just shuts you down again. If I'm Tyrion, I'm thinking I'm losing faith. My queen's losing faith in me pretty damn quick.
Yeah.
At this point.
There's an argument to be made for that, yeah.
Yeah. And the biggest point of all this is not only does she take Drogon with her, she takes all three dragons with her.
She's going to face the White Walkers and see if they're real and fight them head on if they are.
And if they are, she's going to try to obliterate them. That's what I'm thinking she's thinking at the time anyway. So yeah. All right, so back to the north of the wall. What I like to call the battle at the Lake of Death, maybe. I think they're calling it battle with the White Walkers beyond the wall is what they're calling it.
That kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
It's a very apt description.
It is. But yeah, it's pretty much the Lake of Death. The Hound being a moron, just kind of being frustrated.
He's just being bored and just is being an asshole.
Frustrated,
so
pissed
he's just
off.
trying to throw rocks at like the dead guy's face.
Yeah, and he hits one. He hits one, knocks the jaw off, and he's like, "I'll just get a bigger one." And he throws the bigger one, and it lands right at his fucking feet.
Yeah. Well, it skips across the pond, and we're like, "Oh, that looks solid."
And the one that he took the jaw out just kind of looks down, looks up, looks down again, and then just starts walking.
Yeah, it's actually kind of amusing and comedic in a lot of ways.
It really is. And of course, obviously, the rest of them start to follow.
Hive mind. One win, all wins.
All went.
They know what's up.
And at this point, other than 2 other lackeys, there's only really 7 of these guys left. So really, I guess 9 total.
Yeah.
So you got 9 guys standing on a rock in the middle of an island.
And honestly, you forget the 2 are there.
Yeah.
If we're being about it.
And the only reason you know is because they get killed real quick.
Well, the funny thing is, like, during this episode, I saw one get killed on this scene. It was like, when did that dude get there?
Where was he there? I did the same thing. And then you see another one fall into the hive.
You're like, who the fuck's that guy?
Dude. And the one that falls off the rock, he gets it worst of all. He just falls into a mound of them. They tear him to pieces. All you see is blood spurting out.
Well, they almost get Tormund there for a bit, too.
Almost.
And he gets real close. Like, for a moment, I was like, oh, shit, they're going to kill another dude we kind of like.
I was really going to be pissed off if he died, because I really like Tormund a lot.
Yeah. No, but it really was looking like they were going to kill Tormund.
And it's bad, because Tormund, here's a really tough dude. He's asking for help. He's like, somebody help me at some point. Nobody's helping him at first, because they can't get to him. And I'm like, oh, shit.
Yeah, like, I was expecting that to continue for, like, another minute or two of just him being, like, torn limb from limb.
Yeah. So John's like, fall back, and they fall back to the rock, and then you see the last lackey get killed, falls into the, like I said, and they tear him to pieces.
Yeah. And you have, like, John kind of pushed up against the cliff.
And you're starting to get that suffocating feeling almost from the Battle of the Bastards, because they're just drawing in around a circle and getting closer and closer and closer, and it's just like, oh.
It's just surrounding you and just inching in,
Yeah, and then, of course, in mind, you're like, come on, Danny, come on, Danny, come on, Danny. And they and then they hit the music, and of course...
Yeah.
Very cool scene.
It's funny, though, like, when the Dragon Blast fire, you can see them all duck.
Yeah. It comes over top.
Yeah.
They do the the dramatic scene of her flying over top. Pretty cool to see the dragons just laying waste to
not
them.
only that, but like laying waste to like the zombies or the White Walkers or whatever we're calling them.
Yeah,
and just seeing like the ice melt beneath them.
Yeah,
and them falling, into like what apparently is just frozen over ocean.
Yeah, it's pretty much it could be ocean. I think it's just a lake at this point, but
it really could go either way.
Either way, it doesn't matter.
It's a very deep set of water.
Yeah, but you're finally like, yes, finally, they're killing White Walkers and by hundreds,
Yeah, because I mean, just each dragon passing through. Blowing flames and
fire.
just like killing out legions of them.
And you see Drogon land, and he breathes out fire when the ones around him just takes them out. It's just freaking awesome at this point. So Drogon lands while the other two are kind of keeping like a
perimeter,
trying to keep them safe and whatnot. Here's where Jon continues to fight the dead, and this kind of pissed me off a little bit.
He didn't just jump on the dragon.
Yeah, just get on the fucking dragon and go.
Yeah, I think part of him was almost wondering like, maybe I can fight the Night King.
And he's just, I know he's pissed off and he wants revenge, and he's just cutting through the dead guys. But
or he actually just didn't want like them to actually attack other people while they're retreating on them.
Really what he's doing is he's trying to make room for them to escape. He's trying to sacrifice himself yet again, but really, in this case, you got a dragon, fire breathing.
It's really unnecessary. Yeah.
Really not needed. He can knock him over with his tail. He can,
Yeah, the dragon's going to be okay.
He's going to be all right, dude. But, typical Jon style, always jumping on the grenade.
Yeah.
Here we go again. All right, so then the next scene is the Night King, one of his generals, hands him a huge-ass fucking ice spear.
Yeah. It's more or less just a giant ice javelin.
A stick with a big, giant ice spear javelin.
Oh, I thought it was just like a pure thing of ice.
No, it's actually got like a stick on it.
Oh, is there?
But on both ends are, because it is like a javelin, both ends are ice.
Oh, okay.
Ice spears.
Oh, okay. Rock on. I just assumed it was like a solid piece of ice.
It would have kind of been cooler if it was, I think. But no, it was actually like a stick.
Oh,
and
okay.
then
that's cool too.
They had the blades on each end.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool too.
And of course, so you see, and as soon as he picked it up, I'm like, son of a bitch, I know it's coming. I know it's coming. And sure enough, he takes it. He doesn't even throw it.
I think he kind of throws it, but it's not like he doesn't go for that running start.
Right.
Like he just kind of
boop, goes right at Visceron.
And dude, it goes far.
It goes far, it goes fast, and he's fucking deadly accurate.
Yeah.
Because it cuts right through the side as Visceron.
Yeah, and you just see blood just falling off.
Visceron is blowing out fire at the same time, and when he does it, fire comes out the side of him.
Yeah,
because
it pierced his lungs.
Yeah, he pierced the side of his neck, I think, and down into his lungs.
Yeah.
He crashes.
Well, the funny thing is, you actually see him throw another one later on, and it misses.
Yeah.
But it still keeps going.
Yes.
You don't see where the fuck it starts landing.
You don't see it come down, no.
It just goes.
Yeah, so obviously there's some serious magic going on here.
Well, you look at, the amount of force necessary to, the Lancers think to actually take down a dragon, and it's like an fortress weapon. It's a siege weapon, essentially.
Yeah.
And this dude just, boop, boop, and all of a sudden it's just, killing dragons, going that accurate. You give that dude, 100 of those spears, and he just keeps, throwing them off, man. He can pretty much take out armies without his army.
And it's one of those rare times where it's such a big scene that even the dead stop fighting for 2 seconds along with everybody else while they watch this dragon
just fall
and crash and
wow,
go down in flames.
I never saw that in my lifetime.
Yeah, everybody just stops, which is really.
Even with Daenerys, it's the dragons were borderline indestructible up to this point.
Up to this point, in the dead of stopped dragon, everybody just stops and watch it happen and watches him crash into the ocean or into the lake or whatever it is, then sinks underneath the water. With the dragon blood everywhere, by the way, which we'll get to that in a minute.
And it's kind of that point where you kind of see Jon okay, getting on the dragon, gotta leave.
Yeah, time to go. And unfortunately, Jon is overtaken. Because Jon sees him grab the second spear.
Yeah.
He sees him grab that second spear. He's like, go now.
Yeah.
And he sacrifices himself and keeps fighting these guys, and he gets pulled underwater.
Yeah.
And at that point, I'm thinking, Jon, I'm not sure he's going to survive at that point.
Yeah, but at the same time, he's already been brought back from the dead once. We've already had that, close to dying thing with Tormund this episode. Like,
yeah,
I'm not sure they brought him back just to have him like save like the group that was trying to catch the White Walker.
I had the same thing. I was thinking the same thing, but I'm like, you know what? This is Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
And
well, I mean, honestly, you have like after they take off, like you almost see Jorah fall off the dragons. Like that almost would have been more like predictable or understandable, like than like actually letting Jon die at this point.
That's true. But Dany finally leaves, seeing Jon pulled under the water. She stops for a second, but you know, she goes. He throws the second spear, and dragon kind of does a maneuver and barely
it misses, but just barely.
With the whole group on their back, and also the other thing we should mention is when they put the White Walker on the dragon, dumbass Hound puts him on one of his scales.
Yeah,
and it actually goes through the back of the White Walker.
Yeah.
So my question is, the White Walker's alive when we last see him, but will he survive the King's Landing?
Yeah, he'll be fine.
You think so?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because pretty much, in order to kill like the White Walkers or the ones we've seen, you have to like borderline take off their fucking heads.
I know, but it's a dragon. It's a dragon scale that goes through him. I just wonder.
I think it'll be fine.
Okay.
I mean, personally, I think it'd be fine. Like, it could be wrong, but I feel like if that was an issue, we would have known it by now. We would have known it by the end of the episode.
I don't know, because we won't know until they get to King's Landing.
Well, no, because Daenerys has already landed. Like, she landed at the one gate.
At Eastgate, yeah.
And so when they would have pulled the White Walker off the dragon.
You think it would have died instantly? See, I think it's going to die slowly now.
Oh, I mean, maybe. But I mean, you could also make the argument maybe if it gets too far away, the undead get too far away from a White Walker, they might die also.
That could happen as
well.
Because
there's like a link there sort of thing.
But it's been severely injured anyway. If you can severely injure the undead, I don't know.
I think it will be okay. Like,
we'll see.
I mean, you can make the technicality that the physics of it should work that way.
Yeah.
But I don't think the plot point is going to go that way.
Okay, so Jon miraculously pulls himself out of the water. And I'm wondering if, and this is a far-fetched, but the thought did go through my head. Because the dragon is down there and it bled, I wonder if the dragon's blood did something to help Jon survive.
Like it warmed the water?
Warmed the water or kept him alive to fight off the White Walkers. Because he was underwater for probably, at least several minutes at this point. I don't know. What do you think about that theory? Maybe I could be off the left field with it.
If there is anything that's the case, I don't think it would ever come up in any plot points. So probably not.
Okay.
Honestly, I thought the fact that he comes up, you see the White Walkers notice him, and then like his uncle like roams in and like starts throwing like the little lantern thing.
Right.
Like, that was more out of left field for me than just him surviving.
I thought it was a good use.
It definitely is, because he is still out there.
Yeah, because as soon as he gets out of the water, the dead see him, and they're going to attack him.
Yeah.
And luckily, you see Cold Hands, a.k.a. Benji, Uncle Benji, rides in. And Jon's not even sure who he is at first, but luckily, there's no time.
Yeah, he's like, "Hi, Uncle Benji, get on the horse, go."
He takes off his stuff. He's like, "Uncle Benji?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "You got to go." And really, Jon has
really good timing on his part, though, isn't it?
Yeah, and Uncle Benji, he sacrifices himself, and Jon kind of has to respect that because he just did the damn same thing himself at that point.
That, and I mean, Jon's pretty much just about to collapse. So what can he do, right?
So he puts him on his horse, sends him on his way, and Benji goes out fighting. Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, like he has that little lantern he kind of swings around, and like you just have like fireballs hitting like the undead. It's kind of awesome.
I would like to have seen him a little bit more because he was half White Walker, which I always thought was interesting.
Yeah, I never really got how that worked out. But...
Yeah, like he was in the process of turning, and the children of the forest found him and saved him.
Okay, I gotcha.
So he was bound. He couldn't go past the wall because of it. But
yeah, that's still kind of cool.
Yeah, so it was kind of neat. Kind of a neat thing anyway, like a half undead or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was a good send off though for Uncle Benji though. I guess fulfilled his purpose maybe.
Yeah.
So, all right. So finally back at Eastwatch, we see the Hound put a live White Walker on the boat.
Yeah. So still alive for now anyway.
The Hound and Barrack part ways. It's kind of funny. Barrack's like, well, perhaps we'll see each other again. And
Hound's like, fucking hope not.
I fucking hope not.
Yeah.
I hope the fuck not. And then, of course, they go to the top of the wall and they see Dany looking off the wall.
Yeah, just kind of hoping John will stumble his way back, I guess.
Then you see Jorah's like, it's time to go. You know, I finally got you to myself.
It's like 5 more minutes.
Just 5 more minutes.
Then all of a sudden you see John just riding in.
You gotta think Jorah's just going, oh, come on, man. Really? Son of a bitch.
It's hard to say at this point.
So and then for some reason, instead of taking dragons back, they put John on the boat. Maybe this is why she's on the boat instead of taking dragons.
It most likely is so that they actually can, like, kind of treat him, because he might not be in condition to actually ride
fly.
a dragon.
Yeah. So on the boat, you know, she stays with him, and they strip John down in the bed, and she sees.
Well, it's interesting because you actually see, like, the clothing frozen on him, like it actually is like stripped off, like skin or bone or something.
Yeah, you see Davos like literally rip it off of him. Yeah, you know. But the interesting point is, Danny finally gets to see John's scars and see
that it wasn't just like
bullshit.
hyperbole. Like, he really did die from the cough for his own people.
Yeah, he took a blade to the night through his abdomen and to the heart. So, but yeah, so it's kind of an interesting moment. Okay, so the other big scene.
This is a pretty badass scene.
This is a badass scene. Sansa in Arya's room. So obviously Sansa is scared enough to go looking for this
note, try to destroy it or obtain it or something.
So she goes into Arya's quarters, bedroom, whatever would be, and you know, she's looking for it, and then she comes across her bag, with the many faces in it.
Yeah, which I didn't know she was carrying around.
I didn't either. I thought she kind of discarded them.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's kind of cool. She picks it up. Then she picks up the second one, and if the second one was actually Walter Frey, which was pretty cool.
It was a nice little throwback.
And I thought for sure she was going to say something like, Walter Frey? What the hell? You know, kind of make that connection.
Oh, yeah, and the funny thing is, Arya doesn't even mention being like, I'm the one that destroyed the entire fucking House of Frey.
Yeah,
it didn't even come up.
It would have been great for Sansa to know that.
Yeah.
And like, add to her fear.
The entire house of our enemies.
On my own.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
Yeah.
But that would have been cool, but no, that doesn't happen.
There's still a lot of interesting back and forth throughout the scene. Like, when you hear Arya just explaining what the faces are and how she goes that story, like, when we were younger, we both wanted to be different people.
Right.
Yeah,
it's
really fucking
You wanted to be a queen next to a big, strong king, and
I wanted to be
sit on the throne, and I wanted to be a knight. But
neither of us got to be those people. But with these, I can be.
Right, because this world doesn't let girls be what they want. But now I can be whatever I want to be.
Yeah.
And I can live. And then what's real creepy is she goes, I get to live in their skin.
Yeah.
That's like the horror part of the whole scene that makes it that much more.
Creepier. But then she grabs a knife and she's like, all I had to do if I wanted to live in yours is just cut off your face.
I wonder what it would be like to wear all those pretty dresses. And be the Lady of Winterfell.
But it's interesting because then she just hands her the knife and walks off.
Yeah.
But at the same time, clearly terrified the shit out of her.
Well, yeah, because she even adds the line. She goes, after she says all that, like, I could wear your dresses and I could be the Lady of Winterfell. All I need is your face.
Yeah.
And then that's when she flips the dagger over and leaves. Mic drop big time.
Well, it's one of those things, like, it really adds to, like, Sansa's fears and paranoias about it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Arya clearly doesn't seem like she has any intention of actually doing anything.
I think it's just a giant warning. It's like, if you betray John, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
Yeah.
Don't even think about it. Don't get the thought out of your head and get your thought now. It's a serious warning.
Yeah.
It's basically Arya taking a shot across the bow at her sister. I mean, is it creepy? Is it dark side? Yeah, it is. Yeah. But it really is just a warning at the end of the day. But it is a damn good scene.
Oh, it's a great fucking scene.
We don't do it justice by talking about it. You just have to see it.
No, because it builds up that tension so much better than we ever could.
Oh, yeah, we could. There's no way. I mean, so this is one instance where listening to us doesn't do it justice. So definitely watch it.
I think in many cases that might be the case.
In all cases with this show, yes, that's true. But especially in this case, because the back and forth is so well written. Yeah. The dialogue is very well written.
It's very crisp. It's not like there's not excessive like points. It's really very like streamlined.
Yeah, very much so. All right, so back on the Love Boat. I mean, Danny and John in the captain's quarters of the boat. They're sailing back to Dragonstone. one thing I noticed, though, when they were sailing back, there's no dragons.
Yeah. Apparently the 2 dragons she has left just went back on their own.
Or, yeah, maybe she sent them on their own, or maybe she sent somebody on them. I don't think they'd let anybody else ride them, but I don't know. That's what I'm hoping. Hopefully she didn't leave them.
Maybe they just went off to fish and get food.
Maybe, or the worst thing she could do is leave them at the wall. Hopefully she didn't do that.
Yeah.
But it is something to point out. You don't see the dragons when they do the shot of the boat before they go into the captain's quarters. John's obviously very sorry for the loss of her dragons.
Yeah, they make the point of them being like her children, and you know how he knows how attached she was to them and all that sort of stuff.
And it's interesting that she brings that up again because it's almost twofold. Because she says, I can never have children, and those are like my children to me. She's reinstating the importance of the dragons, but at the same time, she's almost communicating to John. She knows, like, if we get together, there's not going to be any errors. It's like she's letting him know that in a kind of a strange way.
I could definitely see how you could view it that way.
Yeah, it was like it was a double meaning to me when she said that line. I thought, anyway, I don't know.
It had dual purposes within the context.
It did, and it was fun. It was good to see her even commit though first and go. I'm glad we went. You have to see this. To understand, and
she's glad she knows what enemy she has to face.
Right, and she goes, I swear to you, we will kill the Night King together.
Yeah, it's at that point he's like, well, he pretty much bends the knee and is like, well, I can't physically bend the knee because I can't get out of bed, but
And then the whole line with Danny, and she's like, the last person to call me Danny, I think was my brother. That's not really good company.
Yeah, he's like, I'll have to find something else then about my queen.
My queen, and of course, that's a huge moment.
Yeah. It's been like 3 episodes in the making.
Yeah, well, yeah. Maybe 4. But anyway, he makes the point the Northerners will come to see what I've seen in you.
Yeah.
She's like, I hope I deserve it. You do, blah, blah, blah.
It's very sentimental, and it's a nice little scene.
It's almost Romeo and Juliet almost in a way. Their love a little bit. It's not so much tragic, but it's propelled by tragic events or intense things because the bond happens really quick.
I mean, kind of, but romance is gonna happen quickly.
I know, but it's I guess it's an attraction, but it's the way they come to really bond that.
Well, yeah, because they're in similar
together.
Scenarios. They both actually care for the people they're ruling and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
There is a lot of characteristics that are similar.
It's like love through tragic situations.
It's love in a tragic situation.
Yeah, which usually doesn't.
But, it is mutual. It's all the same things that still make romance work. They have mutual desires, mutual concerns, and just some level of attraction, most likely.
It works for the moment. I just wonder if it would last. I don't know. Beyond.
No.
I don't know. Not that it matters, but anyway. Okay, so last scene of the
this is the
kind
of interesting little takeaway or the surprise,
the resurrection of Visceron, or the Visceron, the White Walking Dragon. So somehow these White Walkers get their hands on huge ass chains out of nowhere. It really was the only point of this whole thing that I had a hard time with disbelief.
Just the giant chains.
Just finding giant chains north of the wall in the middle of fucking nowhere that just happen to be 50-ton chains.
Yeah, they're very specialized equipment.
Yeah.
It's rare to find it at random.
Yeah, I think it would have been cooler to have those giant White Walkers just hop in the lake and push the dragon out with the help of the rest of
just
them.
Watching the dragon rise on its own.
Or I think you even said, we were talking about it before the podcast.
Having the Night King dive in, resurrect them, and have them ride up.
Fly out of it would have been much cooler.
I think visually this works really well.
It worked. It was cool.
Like the chains are a random little loophole.
Yeah.
Or a random little plot
point, yeah. So eventually with these chains, and there's the masses of them pulling on the chains, they eventually pull the dragon back out of the water. The Night King walks up to it, touches it, and you see it coming a mile away, and of course it opens its eye and it's blue.
Yeah.
So
the Night King and his undead army now have one of the most dangerous fucking weapons in Westeros.
Yeah, they now have their own nuclear weapon. Essentially.
Yeah, they have built their navy. Or Air Force.
Their Air Force, yes. So the big question, the first question I had, and we talked about this a little bit before the podcast, will it breathe fire or ice, perhaps?
I think it's more likely it's going to breathe ice due to the whole fact that the White Walkers have some weird sort of ice power sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, if you're going to go flame, maybe a blue flame, like that really hotter, higher intensity flame.
I really like that idea, especially if you're going up against a wall of ice.
Yeah.
But you also pointed out to me that he could breathe ice and freeze the ocean around the east part of Eastwatch.
Yeah,
and they
then you could essentially just walk around it. You don't even have to worry about the entire wall.
So either way, it works.
Yeah.
But either way, it would be super cool.
Yeah,
in
pretty
my
much.
opinion.
Either way, it's going to be interesting to see.
Oh, definitely going to be interesting to see. Wow, what an episode. Another badass ending. They really know how to do their endings well.
Yeah. I mean, especially this season.
Yeah. So, Aaron, real quick, your grade for this episode.
I'm going to say a B+ to an A-, just because there's some weird little plot holes here and there.
Okay.
You have random people being killed off that you didn't realize were there, giant chains appearing out of nowhere.
Okay.
That's fine. But overall, it is actually a really good episode, and it is still worth watching. Like, none of the plot holes really diminish the storyline.
Mm-hmm.
They're just weird little nitpicky things that you can point out, and it throws you out of the moment for like 3 seconds at a time.
Yeah, I agree. I'm actually going to give it a little higher. I give it a solid A. I'm not going to give it an A+ for the same reasons. The small plot holes, the plot things, this is where the comic book nerd would go, worst episode ever. Not really. It's just minor things here and there. Otherwise, though, I love the back and forth between the not-so-band of brothers becoming a band of brothers, essentially around the wall. The ARYA, SANSA plot line taking hold. That whole dynamic happening, really great dialogue there, really great writing. It's a really good. It's another great episode in what's been a phenomenal season so far.
Definitely.
So next week we got the season finale. From the previews I've seen, looks like we finally get the meeting between Cersei, Dany, and Jon.
Yep.
So big things are happening. All right, real quick, where can you find 4 Midwest Guys? It's real simple. Just go to the number 4 MidwestGuys.com. Again, that's the number 4 MidwestGuys.com. One more time, the number 4 MidwestGuys.com. There you can find links to our iTunes, to our Facebook, to our Twitter, to our YouTube. Everything you need. Even the podcasts themselves are there in chronological order. Or if you just want to listen to one particular podcast in order, you go and click on the links on the top. So if you just like the Night's Watch, this podcast, you click the Night's Watch. If you liked our other Game of Thrones quick recap show, which is the House of Zanardelli, or spin-off podcast, if you will, you just click House of Z. If you want Star Wars Rebels, you click Star Wars Rebels. It's all right there, and it's all categorized for you there. So you can find everything you need, one-stop shop, the number 4, MidwestGuys.com. All right, Aaron, well, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no problem.
Absolutely. And this is B. Willie saying we will catch you next time.